The bloody war continues. The war that Vladimir Putin and his entourage unleashed on Ukrainian soil. The heroic resistance of the Ukrainian armed forces and the entire Ukrainian people in their fight for freedom continues. Greetings, this is Front News. With you is Vladimir Timoshenko. You will find the truth about the war, which our journalists are uncovering from the hottest battle zones. So are you ready? Then we begin. And we start right away with exclusive material. The Ukrainian missile Long Neptune is already striking the temporarily occupied Crimea. The Kerch Bridge, prepare yourself. However, more details on this a little later. Meanwhile, Russia is now also terrorizing Kazakhstan. That's where 3 UAVs with the inscription Jaren fell. These are the same drones Putin uses in the war against Ukraine. And also a new breakthrough by the Ukrainian armed forces in the Belgorod region. Z-Publics hysterically report that the Ukrainian army has taken control of several more settlements. And before that, in the Belgorod region, the Ukrainian armed forces destroyed 4 enemy helicopters. Considering all this, the situation in the Bryansk region remains very tense. There, they are also expecting an offensive by the armed forces of Ukraine in the coming days. All the details in our report.
A new successful operation by the Ukrainian army. Russian propagandists are forced to acknowledge the capture by Ukrainian forces, the village of Demidovka in the Belgorod region. In addition, the Ukrainian armed forces are also assaulting the settlement of Popovka and are already in the village. Zewa correspondents note that Ukrainians are advancing in the Belgorod region. According to the German publication Bild, the Ukrainian armed forces continue to advance on 3 more villages in the 10-kilometer border zone.
Moreover, according to reports from the Russian side, Ukrainian defense forces struck the logistical component of a bridge, which creates serious logistical problems for the Russian troops concentrated in this area. In other words, it is essentially a threat of operational encirclement.
The Special Operations Forces press service reports that our troops have destroyed 2 Ka-52 helicopters and 2 more Mi-8 helicopters of the enemy. In addition to actions on the ground, active combat operations are taking place in the air. The General Staff reports a strike on the occupiers' headquarters in the Kursk region. As a result, about 30 invaders were eliminated. Ukrainians noted that the destruction of this element of the Russian military infrastructure reduces the enemy's ability to conduct combat operations in the Sumy and Kursk regions. Ukrainians are also actively operating in the Donbas, managing to eliminate not only the enemy army but also Putin's propagandists.
According to the Russian side, it was a so-called double strike, using HIMARS multiple launch rocket systems. Moreover, the Russian side was forced to acknowledge the colossal number of casualties among the personnel of the Russian army. In addition to the Russian army personnel, others were killed as a result of the Ukrainian Defense Forces strike on permanent deployment points. The operator of the Zvezda TV channel, Andrei Panov, and the driver of the film crew, Alexander Kuzmin, or Kelly. Additionally, it is reported that as a result of the strike on the permanent deployment points of the occupying army in Mikhailovka, Zvezda correspondent Nikita Goldin was seriously injured.
As the Ukrainian side has repeatedly stated, the armed forces strike exclusively at military targets on the territory of the Russian Federation. However, even the Russians no longer hide this. Civilians often suffer. And all because the occupiers themselves direct drones at their own citizens instead of strategic targets.
Drones that are linked to GPS. When they enter the range of electronic warfare, their course is disrupted. They head anywhere but towards the target. That's why they often end up in residential areas, crashing into hospitals, schools, and so on. Yes, the armed forces do not hesitate to strike at social facilities, but it makes no sense for them to have a drone fly 100 kilometers and hit a hospital. I repeat, the enemy drone entered the zone of our electronic warfare. It lost orientation and it falls wherever it happens to be.
Considering the shortage of air defense systems, they are trying to cover exclusively or on strategic objects. Moreover, it should be noted that by strategic objects they mean Putin's residence in Valdai or in Sochi.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
And now let's talk about the war that is literally crossing borders. A drone with the inscription Geren fell in Kazakhstan. These drones, as is known, are used by Russia for attacks against Ukraine. Since February, there have already been 3 such stray drones.
The Russian Federation has more repeatedly made official statements about territorial claims on the northern regions of Kazakhstan. Moreover, I do not rule out that this is a possibility. Military political pressure on Kazakhstan with the aim of increasing the extraction of Kazakh oil and gas. Against the backdrop of the fuel crisis in the Russian Federation related to successful attacks by Ukrainian UAVs on oil refineries.
It is quite possible that this incident is nothing more than another provocation by the Russians to disrupt negotiations, where they failed to pressure Ukraine's partners to withdraw troops from the Zaporizhia and Kherson regions, as well as from Donbass.
Amid talks of a ceasefire, Russia is striking civilian targets and residential areas in Ukrainian cities. In particular, Kyiv is once again under attack. A Shahed drone attack claimed the lives of 3 people. Drone debris burned the place where a family of displaced persons from Orikhiv was temporarily residing. There, a father and daughter were killed, and his wife was seriously injured. Another drone destroyed an apartment in a high-rise building in the Dnipro district. A woman was killed there. TSN correspondent Mariana Bukan visited the site of the bloody events. Her chilling report. Watch further.
Shocking footage that has spread across all social networks. After the enemy Shahed hit the high-rise, a person is heard screaming in the apartment. This is how the apartment looks on Sunday during the day. The elderly woman who lived here died. We patched up the walls.
She was sleeping in the far room. It hit the near one. It was ablaze. Neighbors from our building and nearby ones came running. But all the doors are armored. The guys were hitting and couldn't do anything.
Elena and Yuri, the closest neighbors of the woman who died from that hellish night, say they have already recovered.
Alive.
Alive and well. That's the most important thing.
The most important thing.
In Elena's apartment, volunteers have already covered all the broken windows with film.
And when it hit, I woke up, but my curtain saved me. The curtain was held down by a table and all the glass stayed on it.
In Yuri's apartment, the blast wave not only shattered the windows, but also completely destroyed the balcony, knocked out the doors, and tore off the window frame. Volunteers are also helping with the cleanup.
I just want to say hello to my mom.
This 15-year-old volunteer is named Salamia. She is the daughter of Valentina Kamaiko, the host of the program Breakfast with 1+1. And this is far from her first cleanup after enemy shelling in the apartments of Kyiv residents.
I've been volunteering at these sites for about a year now. It's actually the anniversary of my first debris clearing.
Throughout the entire day on Sunday, a fire truck remains at the house on the left bank of the capital. Rescuers are unable to extinguish the fire in the spaces between the roof and the apartments. Here on the streets, all the neighbors are sharing the horrors with each other of the night they endured, and the Kola looks...
When it exploded, for some reason I thought it was like on Leningrad Square, because it seemed far away. But when I looked out, I saw it was already burning here.
It banged, I got so scared I immediately ran to the corridor.
My balcony doors opened by themselves completely. I didn't sleep at all. We didn't sleep at all. Very scary.
Yet most of the residents in this high-rise are not planning to leave. They say they want to stay overnight, even if it's without all the windows but in their own apartments. We will outlive the Russians. And we will win. And we will win. God bless our armed forces.
And now it's time to analyze the operational situation on the much-suffering Pokrovsk front direction. The situation here is traditionally tense to the limit. On the Pokrovsk direction, the aggressor attacked our defenders' positions 41 times in the areas of the settlements of Pantelemonivka, Oleksandropil, Vodiane Druhe, Yelizavetivka, Lisivka, Sukhye Yar, Kotlina, Udakhne, Kuspenivka, Preobrazhenka, Andriivka, and in the directions of Malinivka, Novo-Oleksandrivka. 8 combat engagements. At the same time, they are still ongoing. Yes, the occupiers are trying to wipe Pokrovsk off the face of the earth and are bombarding the city with aerial bombs. Explosions in Pokrovsk are heard continuously. Yet there are still many people on the streets who are forced to take risks, going out in search of water, food, firewood, and simply the opportunity to charge their phones. The day before, the Russians targeted right in the center of Pokrovsk. And it was at this time. A film crew from our colleagues at the television news service was there. All the details in the exclusive report by Notaria Nagornaya.
And these are civilians walking down the street. The most popular transport in Pokrovsk. Today, a strong wind is helping us a bit. There aren't that many FPV drones. It seems like there's no quiet time, not even a quiet moment. No, something is constantly exploding. Igor, are you okay? To put it mildly, not the best place for a walk. Just an ordinary hand of a TSN cameraman.
Do you see the step? It's quite high, of course, but you're still young. It's just right for you.
It's nothing. Maybe it seems to me, Aunt. Aunt Valia has been declared the main optimist in the shelter, right? Yes, yes. Your lips are painted.
Yes, why talk about it? Why was I outside?
And while we are in the basement, 3 air bombs fell in Pokrovsk. But by local standards, they are said to be even small.